Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Ling, and welcome to this fireside chat sponsored by Intuit QuickBooks and MailChimp. May, as many of you know, is Small Business Success Month, and whether you're an experienced small business leader or a solopreneur reinventing the way you do business, this can be a crucial part of your long-term success. Whether it's a pivot, rebranding, or focusing on your mission, small business leaders are always reinventing and reimagining their success. So if you're joining us live in the chat today, we want to share your questions and your own stories of reinvention, and we might feature them later in the program. So you can join the conversation also on our social platforms using the hashtag #SmallBizSuccess. So I'm very excited because today I'm joined by two incredible entrepreneurs, both of whom work in highly challenging industries. First, we are so pleased to welcome Kathy Fang. Kathy is a restaurateur, businesswoman, and television personality. She is the chef and co-owner of Fang, a Chinese restaurant in San Francisco. Welcome, Kathy. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. It's a huge honor to be here in front of all of you and can't wait to hear your stories and share mine.
Fantastic. We are also thrilled to welcome designer, activist, and entrepreneur Christian Siriano. Christian's elegant and inclusive style has changed the game for so many. His dedication to increasing body positivity in the fashion industry has really been a much needed change. Christian, welcome to you.
How are you?
Doing great. You guys ready for some questions that I'm going to throw at you?
I am ready. I am like ready to go.
Fantastic. Well, I will start with you then. As I just said, you are a tremendously successful designer, first in fashion and now adding interior design. So many small businesses wrote to us to say how challenging it is to reinvent a business that's already in motion. So, can you tell us about a time when you really pushed for big change in your own business, but also in the fashion industry?
Yeah, I think I feel like I still do that every single day. Especially obviously in fashion or any creative field, it's all about reinvention. I mean, we have to kind of be within the moment, what's happening in the culture, what's happening in clothes and style. So we change a lot. I think early on, I really decided that the product really it just had to be the most important thing. And I think that that is something. You have a business, you're in it. You have your core customers, as we all do. But how do you get more? How do you grow? I think my plan there was really to change the product as much as I could. So I really started focusing on like what I did the best, which was this world of evening, this world of event dressing, and how could I make it more accessible? So that's what we started doing. We started doing projects like Rent the Runway and selling at more mass retailers, but still evening wear. So we kind of took the business that way. Something that we knew we did really great. We felt like we were really good at making a beautiful gown or a beautiful dress, but making it a bit more accessible, which I had never done before. And that's how we really were able to really grow and grew a lot, which I feel proud of. Yeah.
Is it scary sometimes though? Because this idea of reinventing means that you're changing things up, right? And I wonder for those who are watching who might feel a little bit nervous about making such a pivot. Can you
Yeah, every day.
offer some advice on that?
I mean, every day, I had all those, I had a lot of, in the early in my career, a lot of big mass brands wanted to carry my clothes, and I was mostly selling designer, stores like Saks and Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf's, and definitely a higher price point world. And then, when I was offered projects to do like Payless and TJ Maxx and Target and Walmart, we were really worried about diminishing the brand. So I really had to make the right decision to make sure that the product was um, similar enough that there was a connection to who I am and what I love. But I really am under the impression right now that in our world and in our culture, why are we alienating a customer? A customer can come from all walks of life. I don't really care where you are, where you live. If you want to buy a fabulous dress, I'm all for it. So I think that's kind of how I approach it. And I hope any young designers, young entrepreneurs, young creators feel that way too. You just never know who can be your customer at one point. They may be shopping at Target or at what now, but in years they could be shopping at our higher end department store. You never know, and you want to capture them kind of early on in their world of finding a designer that they love. So that's what we try to do.
Well, thank you for that, Christian. Kathy, I want to ask you something similar. I mean, you grew up in your family's restaurant before you decided to become a chef yourself. Was it a challenge to reinvent yourself and the food that you wanted to create in the face of something that the community knew is just this sort of established culinary tradition?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was very intimidating and daunting. I like to compare it to needing to create a sequel that can live up to a blockbuster, right? And how often are sequels as good as the blockbuster? And that is sort of the burden I took upon when I decided, okay, I want to open a restaurant. My dad, yes, partnered with me, but it has to live up to the standards and the quality and the success of a place that's been around for over 30 years. And at the same time, you don't want to compete with it too, right? My restaurant is essentially 10 minutes away from my dad's place. So you need to complement and almost honor, pay homage to something that is an institution, a legacy, while being able to use that blueprint and create something even bigger. And so, yeah, in that sense, it was incredibly challenging, and also finding my own voice because I grew up at my family's restaurant. A lot of what I do and what I learned came from my father. So how do I separate from that while also allowing people to see the connection between the two families? The way I kind of actually
Kathy,
approach.
do you ask your dad's input on new
Oh my
dishes?
God, I don't need to because my dad is the overbearing Asian immigrant dad. He was looking over my shoulder on every single thing. Oh, you're going to use that seasoning? Why? That spice? Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to do this? Um, yes. So I had the overbearing parent while I was trying to do something new, hopefully bigger and better, if not complementary and not competitive. There were just so many things that I had to worry about. So I guess the way that I approached it was that we have something that's very successful. How do we take that and pull off elements of it and do something completely new where you feel like, oh, wow, this is actually second generation. This is House of Nanking 2.0, but it has my voice in it. So I kind of use that to help me create something that is what we call Fang now and lives successfully next to House of Nanking and complements each other.
Well, I am sure he is incredibly proud because you all have achieved so much success in a very crowded field. So kudos to you for that. And speaking of success, I mean, knowing when and how fast to grow a business is a huge part of small business success. In a recent QuickBooks survey, 63% of businesses say growth is a priority, but only 5% of those businesses want really fast growth. So, Christian, can you tell us about a time when you may have said no or not yet when growing your business?
Yeah, I think, and fashion it moves very, very quickly. So it's kind of like, we have 4 collections a year and it's always on to the next. And it's always, there's red carpets and there's, always something for someone to wear, want to buy. So that's the biggest challenge, I think, in my business is that the need for a quick change and growth comes very, very quickly. And it always has and it always will. I think my biggest, you know, I think change in our company was, early on when we decided to, start actually, scaling the business and selling at more, larger retailers. And I think that was a little bit of a slow steady, but I mean, some of my first retailers were Saks. That was actually, I think, my first department store ever. And it was like you didn't want to let them down. You didn't want to not give them something. So we gave them something, but it was very small, very, very curated, very selective of what I knew my team could produce. That's the biggest challenge in a lot of businesses. How are you doing the actual production? How are you getting the product to the stores? At least in our world. And that was something that I knew I had to scale slowly. I did not want massive production challenges with thousands of units of dresses all over the world being made. And that's what we focused that, I think, until now. I mean, even 15 years later, we do very small production runs. We keep it very tight, very focused. And actually, we're making more money than ever that way, than scaling really large quickly.
Well, thank you for that, Christian. Kathy, in the same survey,
But it's so
two,
hard.
oh yeah,
Put it
yeah.
that way, people.
Well, and to
Getting
anticipate.
the clothes in the store, it's not easy.
I
Well,
believe.
Kathy, in the same survey, 2 in 5 businesses have created a new innovation or technology in the past 3 months, and more than half are planning to invest in new resources. So, how do you know when you need to make that investment or really push to innovate?
So I'll answer this in two folds because I think my situation is quite unique. You know, I've got my parents' restaurant that's been around for 34 years, and I'm deeply involved in trying to grow that. And I've got, parents who are 74 and 73. And so, not that most small business owners are at that age, but when I got involved, they were probably in their, 45 to 50 timeframe. And it was very apparent to me, but not to them. The advances had to happen within like the technological space of something as simple as upgrading your POS system, utilizing email software, how to make reservations, third-party delivery apps. It can be as basic as that, which I think is applicable to a lot of immigrant businesses, people who immigrate here and have fantastic ideas and products and services, but are not well versed in everything else that's happening around them that grows so rapidly. So there's that one sense of just minor technological advances and innovation. And then when it comes to, I think, my generation and younger, those are things that are very apparent. Those things are already in place. It's more about, for me, if I'm starting to feel very comfortable, things are becoming too routine, my menu's not changing, I'm kind of doing the same thing over and over, that's when I know innovation has to happen, reinvention has to happen, because I grew up in the food business. I was in my parents' restaurant when I was 7. I have, through that time, seen so many places that have become incredibly successful and are now gone. There's only a handful of places that are still around, say 30, 40 years later. And I think what keeps them around is the ability to actually adapt to the times. And it doesn't mean that traditional things are not relevant. You can have places that have been around that are institutions, serve the same thing over and over, but they still have things in there that are applicable to people of modern day. There needs to be a fine balance on that. And so we just have to remember, like, you can't get too comfortable. Behind every successful business, there's a bevy of hungry eyes, people who are like, I want to do that. I can do that better. I can do bigger and better than that. And if you want to stay on top, ahead, and continue to survive, you're going to have to take note of that and say, okay, I'm going to stay ahead of that curve. I need to innovate. I need to reinvent. I need to do something differently. And so for me, it's all about that comfort level. Don't get too comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, things are moving so quickly these days that the failure to innovate, right, or to look beyond the now can really make or break a business.
It can. You can have an amazing product, but I mean, even that, people's tastes, their preferences, their habits, it continually changes. And so if you can't transition that great product into that space, then like you can still fail, right? You as an owner, you've got to wear so many different hats.
Yeah, my industry, the media world is really going through such a transition right now too. And it's really hard because things have been done a certain way for so long, and it's challenging to think about how to do things differently, how to change with the times. So, speaking of technology, both of you have a strong social media presence. Do you have any tips on how small businesses can use social media and other media to reinvent themselves? Christian, you can start.
Yeah, I think we're in a really interesting place with the world of social media, whether we want to, support it and love it, and because it can be, challenging. And I think, it works for not everyone in the world, I think now. But I think in our world, what we found, my fans and that were following very early on in my career, I think the connection to them is very, very important. And I still think that that's just very, very important till this day, making sure that you're just engaged and connected with them. I think just at some point always leads to a transaction in one way or another, whether we see it right then and there, on social media, or people are clicking and buying and redirecting to your website, or if it's just a long-term game that you're really trying to get people engaged for years to come. So that's kind of been my goal, really, to make sure that like we're still keeping the early fans of the brand still engaged a little bit, that connection of responding and reaching out to and remembering, oh, I remember we had messages about address, should we follow up, things like that. So we're just trying to do that, really it's day by day, and we still keep it really small. But I think actually like the interaction with the customers on social, I think is still very, very important. And I think it will never kind of go away. At least I don't see that going away for the next 5 to 10 years. I just think that that's how consumers are really shopping and figuring out what they love right now, is on social.
It's a great point. It allows consumers to get to know you better as well.
Yeah, I know, which can be so it can be scary, I think, for a lot of brands, because people then are like really in your life, really in your world, and you want to give them something, but it has to be just enough. It's all about the balance.
How about you, Kathy? Do you have any tips for small businesses on how to more effectively use social media for their businesses?
Yeah, I do. I feel like my relationship and journey with social media has been kind of an interesting one, because I didn't really want to get into it. I didn't think I would be good at it. It's very daunting. I'm running a business, but now you're telling me I need to have like the perfect social media to draw people in to buy our products. I've got my parents who are like, I don't even know why people have social media. And the one thing that I actually learned from having my own show on Food Network is that the reason why I thought social media was daunting was because I felt like it had to be perfect, right? Oh, it has to have a perfect post, a perfect picture, a perfect caption, a perfect hashtag. It just made it like, oh, well, I'm not an expert in this. This is not what I know how to do. So it's almost that first step of like, I'm going to do this. And when I did the show, what I realized that people gravitated towards was just us being real. Like the breakout star from the show was my dad. I'm like, my dad is like the last person that I think that would do well on a show or on social media, because he's just like, stone face, non-expression, but so many people connected with him. And when people come to a restaurant, like you would think that, hey, we're on Food Network, people come because of the food. And yes, of course, people want to come for the food. But the number one thing that they say is, we came here because we wanted to meet you. We wanted to meet your dad. And that is the true testament to the power of social media, is that you control your narrative, you control the person behind the brand and the business. And so this generation of people, they buy into that. That is what they look for. It's not just a brand. It's believing in the people who are creating this. It's the mission statement. It's what they can relate to. And you can do this for free. Right? You can do this for free. And so that's why I actually ended up jumping into it. I'm very late to the game. And then one other tip that I would give that I got from somebody who's very well established in social media was that to make things really easy on you, think about content as being something that's everywhere around you. Because if you're working 24/7 and you're in your place of work, that is content in itself, whether it's a triumph or a struggle or a bad day or a good day, anything about your product, that can be content that's relatable. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just put it out there. Share, sometimes overshare, and you'll be surprised by the type of response that you're going to get. And yeah, social media can be very tough. You have people who may not like you, but I actually think, in comparison to the people who want to support you, who check in day to day to see, hey, what is Christian up to today? Like that is very powerful, right? That's a constant reminder of, hey, come buy this and do this because I'm doing that right now and I care about it a lot. So there's something very inspirational behind, I think, the people who are willing to put themselves out there and supporting the products and the things that they want to do, because there's so many people who probably look at you and say, I want to be that person, I want to do that, I'm going to support that. So just do it. Don't think too much about it, don't overthink it, just be yourself.
Well, you make a really great point. As frustrating as social media can be, I appreciate that reminder that you are actually in control of it. So you can show as much as you want to show or divulge as much as you want to divulge. But if there are certain aspects of your life and your business that you want to keep to yourself, there's no, it's not, it's not imperative that you show those things.
Yes.
But I love that your dad has become a social media influencer.
Yeah, not because he wants to, but like,
so every time we host one of these fireside chats, I see people in the audience chatting with each other and connecting and wanting to share their stories. So I have asked Intuit's own Sylvia Davis to share with us what so many of you have been saying in the chat. So Sylvia, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Christian. Hi, Kathy. I am so excited to be here today. And from all the interaction that's going on in the chat, I can tell that I'm not the only one. We have lots of people saying hello and sharing where they're joining us from today. For example, Angeline is calling in from California. Hi, Angeline. And also hello to Aura and Marco and Gina. And Angela wants to say hello to Christian. And for all of our attendees, please feel free to say hi, drop in the chat, say hello, and also share with us where you're joining us from. But I want to share with you all a comment that we received from Rachel that I wanted to quickly call out regarding what we're talking about earlier with technology. Rachel says that explaining why my advanced high-tech processes are important is by far the biggest challenge. So what we were saying about technology really resonated with Rachel. And also, I wanted to share that in addition to what is going on in the chat and looking at everything that's going on live, we had a lot of you who shared your stories and your questions with us when you actually registered for the event. And we read all of them. And we found that one of the themes that really bubbled up was about the importance of community, especially for these small business owners who sometimes can really feel like they're in this alone. In fact, Shelley, who is in the chat, she just mentioned that building community is something that's really important.
Well, that's a great point, Sylvia. Christian, Kathy, I wonder if you can comment on the importance of community for you and your business as well. Christian, I'll start with you.
Okay. I think I guess community to us is maybe a little bit different because fashion brands and businesses are pretty disconnected. We obviously, like a lot of us, are part of the CFDA, so we're in quite a large group, and we try to support each other that way. But we definitely otherwise are pretty estranged and disconnected. So I think our community really is about like our customers and the people that are shopping in the stores or in our showrooms or looking for a product wherever it's sold. And that has become, and that can be a really big challenge. I hope people remember that, those customers are still so important. For me, we have a big store in Connecticut right now, and I go as much as possible to be a part of it. I know myself, I still, am a small business and like to be there as much as I can and meet those customers and engage. And some of them can be difficult and not always be your number one shopper. But it's still about that. Like, you have to have that in the community. Community is all about that, having all the different tiers and all the different characters and types of people that you're going to meet. Some will be more challenging than the others. Some will be great. Some you'll love, some you won't. I think that's like very important to go in any business knowing that there will always be all of these different types of people. We're all still human here. We're all still looking for something. So I think what I found is it's very important, but it also is important to make sure that you're still giving the core customer what they want, and don't don't go too far into a new world, at least not quickly. So I guess that's what I found when I found kind of like our community world. What they wanted from me was very specific things. So we're giving it to them. Yeah.
Kathy, how about you? How important is community to you in your business?
So I think that community is actually what kept our business around during the pandemic. I hate to bring it back to the pandemic because we like to feel like we're completely past that, but we were closed. Both restaurants were closed for over a year during the pandemic, and it was a very, very tough landscape for us. And the thing that really kept us around and pushing to survive was the fact that the community reached out to us and was basically concerned. They're like, are you guys going to be around? Is there any way we can support you? And when I think about just our restaurant being, let's say, in Chinatown, or a place that's become iconic in the city, it really adds to the allure of the place, right? When we actually got recognized as a legacy business recently, we talked about how we felt like we were involved in the community, or what did we add to the city that would give us this recognition. And it's about having people come and wanting to stay in the city, whether it's live here, to visit it, to see the old and the new. To make a place interesting, you have to have new exciting things, but also old historic places. And to see the community come around and want to support all these little places that have been around made us realize how important our community is, and how we want to stay around to actually then pay it forward, right? To say, we're going to stick around. We love what we've created here, and we want to give back to the community and give people a reason to come back here and hang out here and eat here and visit Chinatown, visit San Francisco. So it's like the symbiotic relationship. We need both. And that became like the most apparent during the pandemic. When you're really busy, sometimes you forget about all those things, right? But that really put everything into place. If someone can come from Sacramento and say, I have not been in the city, I have no reason because things have been closed, but I found out you guys were opening for takeout. So we drove, 3 hours to get takeout to go home because we can't eat in the restaurant. We can't dine anywhere. But that is what actually felt like also brought people together. There was reason behind anything that you were doing, whether it's to support a business, a city, to keep things alive. So our mission is really to keep our businesses going, to inspire other businesses around us who are having a hard time to keep fighting, because we love our city and we want to keep it the way that it is. And we hope that we can continue to grow this place that is essentially fed my family and given us opportunity.
So moving to hear how the community came together to support your business, but also so many businesses in Chinatown in the Bay Area. I now have some questions from our audience, and our first question comes from Paige Graham. Paige is the founder and creative director of Paige's Candle Co., which is a small manufacturing company in New York City. Paige, how are you doing? Tell us a little bit about your business and your question.
I'm good, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. All three of you are so awesome. I own a candle manufacturing company I am originally from the Bronx. I'm now in Queens. So Christian, I know you're in New York City too. So yeah, New York represent. What's up? No.
I need some candles, Paige. Come
yeah,
on.
definitely. So yeah, this is, I'm really excited to be here. A little bit about my company. We hand make vegan soy wax candles and natural products, and a portion of our sales are donated to City Harvest. We're really about community work, even though we make dope ass candles. I mean, it's a humble brag, but we really focus on giving back to inner city communities through craft as well. So we donate candle making workshops to inner city communities. And the reason why we're so focused on that is because I'm originally from an inner city community in the Bronx, so I'm really passionate about giving back. But to put that aside, I do have a question geared for both of you, Kathy and Christian. So you started a business at such a young age. I was really curious if you've ever dealt with imposter syndrome and how you can overcome that.
It's a great question. Kathy, do you want to start?
Yeah, I feel like I deal with it all the time. I don't think yes, a lot of it is tied to your age, but then what I found that even as you get older, and like at this point, yeah, I'm young compared to my parents, but I'm old too, right? 14 years in the business. I'm approaching 20 years. That's a lot in what I'm doing, but I still feel it because I feel like it comes with, if you've created a certain level of success, then it moves you into the next stage. You get into the next stage, you take on greater challenges, you get put into, I think, groups that you almost feel like, oh my gosh, I like made it here. Do I deserve to be here? Am I good enough? You start to compare, and then the imposter syndrome happens where you're just like, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm not good enough. The thing that actually gets me through, I've got two things. One of them is, I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is how I was brought up, is that, I was always around my family, and the number one motivating factor for me has always been making my parents proud, feeling that I've been able to take advantage of their sacrifices. Anything that they've been through is much easier than what I'm going through. So if I'm put in a room where I feel like, at that moment, small, then I think to myself, I need to step up. If anybody's going to feel small, it would be like my parents coming here with no money, can't speak the language. Like, that's when you feel small and feeling like you need to like prove yourself. I can do this. So that's the number one thing. The other thing is a very random, weird thing that I've done, is music. Actually, music has this weird way of like putting me in this space. And there's this one song that I came across recently when I got this reality show that got filmed. I had this like immense sense of gratefulness and sort of like awe, like, I can't believe this has happened. My life is so boring. I don't know why they're doing this. And after 6 weeks of shooting, I dropped off my kids. It was a whirlwind, and the song by Ariana Grande called Positions was playing, and I started to cry because I had this sense of like, oh my God, this is all happening. So now when I do anything that's tough or that I feel is nerve-wracking, where I feel like maybe I don't belong here, I haven't quite made it, but they seem to think I have, I play this song and it puts me in this really like fabulous space. I'm like, listen, if I can do this show, I can do this as well. Like, I belong here. So sometimes it's a mood, sometimes it's an extraneous motivating factor, someone that you care about. It could be your kids, your significant other, your partner. There's something outside of, at least for me, it's something outside of that I'm fighting.
How about you? Have you ever felt imposter syndrome, and how have you dealt with it?
That was good. I'm like, wow, that was very specific advice.
What's your music? I want to know what
I'm like, should I call Ariana right now? And no, I guess I think about it. I guess I think about it a little differently. Like, if you're ever, in your moment and, you don't feel maybe successful, or you don't feel like you're enough, or you're you shouldn't be in the room, right? I think the biggest thing is like that I started teaching myself is you will never be everything to everyone. It's impossible. It's kind of how I feel about like clothes. I'm sure, when you're creating candles or a product, you're going to feel that way, but like, you can never be everything for everybody, but if you're somebody for someone, and then that someone is the next someone, and then that someone turns into that, then that can be enough. And I think that that's what I started teaching myself, that like, that actually was kind of enough. And I was focusing so much sometimes on the negative things that I wasn't getting, or that I wasn't in, or I wasn't invited to, or a part of. And I started kind of pushing that away. And I really, really just started focusing on like, but look at all like the amazing, great things that we've done. Like, maybe I can't get, my dress isn't on the cover of Vogue, or whatever we weren't getting. I was taking away that negativity, and I was just thinking about the positive. And I think thinking enough about the positive, then I felt really confident and pretty successful. So I think that's what I hope a lot of young entrepreneurs are doing. Like, just think about what's so great happening in your world, and and like, you're doing so much for the community, and you were talking about, and like that's already more amazing than I think a lot of brands, because I think a lot of brands are still not doing that, billion-dollar brands. So I think that is your confidence booster right there, that never ever think that you're not something, because then so that's what you, I hope, think about every single day. That's what I would be thinking about. Like, look at all the great things you're doing. I'm like, oh, well, now I feel like I'm not doing enough, just by hearing you. So Paige.
Yeah, Paige, you're putting all of us to shame. No, really, thank you so much for that thoughtful questions and the thoughtful responses from Christian and Kathy. Thank you, Paige. Our next question is from Howard and Anita Sue, a brother and sister team who run 3 restaurants, including Sweet Auburn Barbecue in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was looking at the menu, and I'm dying to know about what's on the menu at Sweet Auburn Barbecue. Howard and Anita, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about your business, and I feel like I need to make a trip specifically out to Atlanta to come try your restaurants, and tell us your question as well.
Well, if you've ever heard of CNN, they're based in Atlanta, so you have no excuse to not
You're
come.
right. You're right.
So first of all, thank you everyone for having Anita and I on this. So we're real thankful and big fans of everybody here. Anita, my sister, has been my partner for 20 years, and we started what we thought would be a tiny little burrito shop for just kind of for fun, and thought kind of naively that, we just hire managers and let's just do that, because our parents had Chinese restaurants like Kathy, and we naively thought, all right, we know what we're doing, we're going to open a restaurant. And that was about 20 years ago, maybe a little over 20 years ago. But since then we've, and that restaurant was called Gezzo's. And since then we've opened multiple other restaurants. Today we have 3 Gezzo's. One's full service, one's counter service. We have 2 Sweet Auburn barbecues. Both of those are full service. And we also own a concept called Tio Lucho's, which is Peruvian. And also we are part owners of a fine dining restaurant called Lazy Betty, where our brother, who's not here today, is the chef owner of the restaurant. And he's classically trained, worked in Michelin star restaurants. So today I think we together with Anita and I here, I think we own and operate about 8 different restaurants.
You can answer all the rest of my questions then. I'm like, can I listen to you guys?
Here comes the imposter syndrome. We're like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Christian, you need to design our next staff uniforms.
I will. And now that I hear that you have 8 restaurants, I'm going to be very expensive.
We want the Target brand, though, the line.
Oh, God, I bet you did. Okay, great.
Howard, Anita, what's your question?
Yeah, so I mean, you guys are obviously experts in the field. The question that I have is, for Kathy, being in culinary space, innovation is so important. How do you approach innovation, knowing that some of your customers, or guests, as we like to call them, are going to give you pushback and aren't always going to be on board with some of the changes that you want to do?
That's a great question. I actually feel like I've had a lot of training on this, because, I work with my dad, right? I grew up in a restaurant where a lot of it is about tradition, and the way that I was raised is about that. So I'm constantly actually working around that, even with Fang. Having been around for 14 years, if I want to innovate or do something different on a menu or change the direction, those conversations are still very hard to have. And it's also very hard to get my dad on board. So that's like the first point of barrier to entry. And of course, the second one are the customers. But I feel like the customers are actually a little bit more understanding, because it's not like, for my dad, a lot is at stake, right? To him, it's, if you change too much, you could affect the success of the business. You can undo what we've built. When it comes to customers, I think there's a way around it, right? We have a lot of people who've been with us for the last 30 years, 34 years, who've seen me grow up since I was a little kid coloring dinosaur cookbooks to now becoming a chef of my own, is that they come in, they enjoy the classics. They'll tell you, hey, make sure you never get rid of this. Don't change that. But they're also open to, hey, what else is new? What else is happening, right? If you have customers who believe in your business, then they should be actually excited about changes, as long as those changes aren't necessarily the ones that affect the things that they keep coming back for. But it's sort of like this collaborative effort. The community, your restaurant, your clientele, those people, like you build off of that. And you can, if you're there all the time, you can tell what will work and what doesn't work. Can I push here? Can I not push there? And so unfortunately, it means just being in your place of business much more, which I'm sure you guys are. So it's being like on the pulse is how I would like to say it. You're on the pulse, you're there, you're talking to them. You know what they like, what you don't like, what you can push for and what you can't push for.
Howard and Anita, is it true that your barbecue restaurant is sort of like Asian fusion?
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
you want to go? You go.
What is the dish that I have to try when I go? Because my mouth is watering just thinking about it.
Well, growing up in our Chinese restaurant with our parents owned, we had to use our little Chinese fingers quite often and wrap crab rangoons every night for mom and dad. So when we opened up the barbecue place, we had a pimento cheese spread, and I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, why don't we just stuff that in a wonton and just make a pimento cheese wonton, which is essentially a crab rangoon. And you know, with it comes out very nice. You know, the deep fried goodness. We serve it with a Thai chili, a sweet Thai chili, and it's we're very, very well known for that dish.
Sounds amazing. I mean, it sounds like you guys are, complete, like the consummate innovators. Well, thank you so much for joining today, and really appreciate the question.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Christian, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, our third question, it comes from Eddie Massey, who is a chef, caterer, and owner of Eddie's Grocer in Greenpoint, New York. Eddie, thank you so much for joining. Tell us about your business.
Of course. Hello, everybody. Big fans of everyone. Thank you for putting this together. I'm an owner of a Lebanese grocery and cafe, and we also do catering. I used to own a catering company, and then because of COVID, had to close that down, and I pivoted by opening up the grocer. It's been a really fun 3 years working away and building in New York. You know, it's very hard in the food industry. But my question to you all is running a business is hard enough, especially with all the different factors that go into it. But the finance to me is the hardest part, figuring out where to put your hardworking dollars and being careful not to waste or overspend. How are you able to make good money choices over the years, and how is it running finance for your own companies? Did you have to hire external help, or did you learn as the years passed on? It's just, I feel like it's something that nobody really teaches you. You have to go with your gut, and you work so hard, especially in the food space. Your margins are so small. And when you have a little bit of profit, you want to make a little, update or something like that. And what has that been like for you guys?
Christian, you want to tackle that?
No, I want to hear Kathy first.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I think for me, there's been two things that have been very beneficial, is that because, my parents started it and they're immigrants, we've always come from a very frugal perspective of things, and you never take things for granted. So we've always run things very lean. And there is that difficult decision between lean versus quality versus, like wanting to provide a superior service and product. And I think the thing that's always been able to push us through between those two decisions is that we value the person's experience. And so for some, this may not be possible, but we're always there front and center. So the superior aspect of it is us, our presence, us being there and cooking for them. And we feel like we can actually save on other aspects because of that. And for some, that is something that they can't sacrifice for. So it goes towards spending more money on more quality talent, or someone who can replace you, which we're still struggling with, right? We're still there at the restaurant all the time. You would think after 30 years, spend the top dollars on having someone run it, spend the top dollar to have people do everything for you. And we made the decision as business owners that that's not the way that we want to run it. It has saved us a lot of money. It put us through the pandemic. There's a lot of benefit to that. There's just a lot more work on your own part, a lot more sacrifice. And I'm still struggling with it. I'm a new mom. I have a 5-year-old and 2-year-old. Now I'm debating, hey, is it worth my time now, or do I want to spend that money to grow it and manage it in a way where I make less, but I'm also making myself available for other opportunities for growth or for family. So I think that's sort of, for me, it's like the balance between those things.
Christian, how about you? How was it making, or was it difficult to make sort of good money choices? And did you ever hire external help as the years progressed?
Yeah. And I think, like, I'm sure we all have this, and we will have it for a long time, is that the finances are really the biggest challenge we all have every single day, as we're all running a business, especially businesses that are cash flow businesses, where you're, upfronting everything. And I think that was always the biggest challenge. I mean, in fashion, you're literally upfronting all dollars at all times. So anytime you're making something, anytime you can get a $2 million order, well, you're upfronting the cost to make that. So that's always the challenge. And that, I think, is like what we are trying to figure out as fashion grows, and I'm sure as in the food business grows. But I figured out pretty early on that, like, our big risks were just our biggest reward. So everything that we were actually spending the most money on, in the end, was our biggest rewards. And I don't know if that's just if in my world, but I pretty much found that usually that's what works. So we were really putting money into, like, really spectacular clothes, spectacular fashion shows, really over the top things. We were definitely spending money. We were over budget for sure. But I knew that it would make it a more successful world. So I took that risk pretty early on, and I still do. And usually those are the things that are the most successful, at least in our world. And I'm sure, as most, I think, food and restaurant owners know, that if the food is amazing and incredible, and people are coming. So you might have it a little bit different. You could have a tiny little nothing restaurant, and if the food is spectacular, people are coming. Where I have to put on such a presence. So I hope that, I mean, you and, a Lebanese, you said a Lebanese grocer, that's so cool. I mean, I think it should be the tiniest, nothing little place. And then, make your rent. I mean, the rent in New York and Brooklyn is just insane and so rude to the world.
Yep.
I think it should be the nothing, tiniest little place that your rent's low and your overhead's low, and that the product is so awesome, because that doesn't really exist. It's very cool. So that's what I hope you do, because otherwise, I don't know, it doesn't even make sense. You don't need it, Unfortunately, I have to have it. Oh, how depressing. I spend way too much money.
Christian, when you're in Greenpoint next, you should stop by Eddie's Grocery.
Yes.
I've been there, but just even seeing it, it's like such a beautiful little place. So
Thank you.
Eddie, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your question.
Thank you.
I want to check in with Sylvia to see how things are going in the chat, and if they have any questions for our esteemed panelists.
Sylvia, what's happening?
Hey.
I do have another tip about the finances. Find a really good accountant that you really trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone.
I hope we all.
Yeah.
Great point.
That is really important.
Sylvia, go ahead.
Thanks for that, Kathy. Anyway, so Lisa, the people in the chat, they are loving this discussion, and even better than that, they're loving this panel. So Carice wants to thank you, Lisa, for your great questions, and to thank Christian and Kathy for their transparency. And also, there are so many attendees. Kathy, they love what you shared about your song. And Sarah says that she's already added it to her playlist. So there's a lot of people that love that idea.
And Ariana's making a check. So look at us. We're just
say what?
For everybody.
Ariana, come on.
She doesn't need it.
Also, the attendees they're really loving the earlier discussion that we had about social media. For example, Monica says, thank you for giving me the permission to post content that isn't always perfect. I find that the hesitation and struggle to find the perfect shot holds me back from posting anything at all. And you remind me to be authentic and just do it. And I got to second that, because I won't even let my kids post pictures of me online unless it's, no, you can't put that one on there. I don't look right. So I got to get past that too. So thank you for myself as well. We also have a really good question that we actually received from Eve when she registered for this event. And I wanted to share that because I think many of us here are probably wondering the same thing. And her question is actually for you, Christian. She shared with us that she watched you, and I loved how she put this. She watched you blossom fiercely on Project Runway, and that she's enjoyed following your career ever since. And she says that everything she's seen about you has been about the design side of your career. And she wants to know, what's the biggest challenge that you faced on the business side of your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, it's definitely out there in the world. I've done a few interviews and chats about the challenges of the business. There's a million. They're every single day. I mean, fashion is, I said a little bit earlier, like a cash business. You're really in it. You can't really sell clothes if you can't make clothes. So that's the biggest challenge. And we have, the financial struggles every single day of like even what to price the clothes, who will buy this at this price point, who, what does it cost to make something. I mean, we really do go through that every single day. That will never go away. And I think my struggles we've had everything. I mean, we have had where, an employee put in, let's order 1,000 units of this dress, but they actually hit 10,000 units. So 10,000 dresses showed up. That was a few $100,000 mistake. So, and how do you overcome that, right? So we have had every single type of that daily challenge to, to those struggles. So, but I think like I am a pretty reactionary creator. So the moment something happens, I react very quickly and make a decision. This is what we're doing. There's no discussion. This is happening. So I'm a pretty intense kind of thinker that way. So, but I hope that young entrepreneurs think that way, because I think it's pretty much impossible not to. So Eve, you better react quick if you have 10,000 dresses sitting in your living room. That happened.
Well, Kathy, I'm going to piggyback on that and ask you what your biggest challenge has been on the business side.
I think my biggest challenge now comes with sort of the person that I am, that I've become, right? So prior to this is just, I'm a solo entrepreneur. Yes, my dad and all, but now I'm a mom with a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old. I have aging parents. So, continuing to grow my business, expand it means I guess it means a different thing for me now. Like, how do I do that and maintain what we've created, inspire growth, but also make time for my family and be a good mom and a good daughter and take care of my family? And so the challenges are a different set of problems. You could say that I'm going through another reinvention at this point. Like, what does that mean for me moving forward for the next 10 to 20 years? I think those are things that I'm going through right now. Like, what kind of success do you want to create? At what sacrifices? At what cost? And where do you want to be in 10 years? So these set of challenges.
Are those questions that you're constantly asking yourself and kind of checking in on those questions?
They are yes, I'm constantly asking that, but it's become even more apparent now, but because my parents being older, right? And my kids they're always asking me. They're at this point, they're not 1-year-old. They're like, are you going to work today? Are you going to come home early? Are you going to pick me up? There are these weird realities that I didn't think I would come across that I am coming across now. And so success has a different level of meaning for me. It's not about, making more money necessarily to say, or opening another location. It's like how to maintain what we've grown, or maybe grow it in a way that doesn't mean I need to be at the restaurant day to day. How can I still create success and grow while being able to spend time with my family. It's a very different kind of mindset, and thus a reinvention that has to occur.
Well, thank you so much for that. And Sylvia, I really appreciate you making sure we got to hear from some members of our audience to hear what they have been talking about in the chat today. We are coming to a close, but I just want to ask both Kathy and Christian a final question, which is, how do you define success for your business? And has that changed since you first launched the business? Christian, I'll start with you.
Oh my gosh.
What does success mean to you?
It's the burning question of the world. Oh gosh, I hope it has, different meanings. I mean, obviously it has so many meanings for everybody. I think it was, if you had some goals early on in your life or in your career, things that you wanted to accomplish. I think as long as those things are met, I feel pretty successful, honestly. And it's as simple as that. I had a list of, people I wanted to dress, red carpet, or, have moments I wanted to dress an Oscar winner. I've dressed many. I wanted to dress, I wanted to do tours in Broadway, and I wanted to do all these things. And as long as I check the boxes, I feel really successful, even if those things weren't successful, even if it wasn't a great Broadway show or a red carpet or whatever. I still feel like I accomplished what I set out to do. Opening my first store, getting my first cover of Vogue. I just had a list. And as long as I got those things, I felt successful. And it definitely isn't always about the money or, how much we have and what we're on to, next. And so I guess I approach it really, if I'm able to still basically create whatever I want, whenever I kind of want, then that to me is like ultimate success. So I hope any creator, restaurateur, if you're able to make the food you want to make the product you want to make every day, then you are successful. And really nothing else, I think, kind of matters in a way, most days. And if you make a little money doing it, even better.
So having those defined goals. Kathy, how about you? How do you define success for your business? And has it changed since you first started?
Yeah, for me, it has definitely changed. I think success, like the definition of success evolves over time, just like a business does, just as like you personally evolve over time. So when I first opened the restaurant, it was just about survival, not going under and hopefully becoming profitable. And when that happens, then you think about what next can you do? What other goals and aspiration can you create for yourself? And depending on life's journey, those things can shift, right? But I think at the end of the day, the core thing around any kind of success is, does it make you happy? So whether it's making more money, whether it's creating a business that people recognize, or it could be success that's outside of that, and it could be tied to family and relationships and things like that, something more internal. What satisfies you, I think it's really up to the individual person, and being able to self-reflect on that and figure out what it is that really ultimately makes you happy. So I think that is something that sometimes we underestimate and we don't think about as entrepreneurs or small business people, because we think about successes and money and we peg it to actually we peg it to metrics basically, and life is not pegged against that. And so I think the longer you're in the business, I think the more you become face to face with all those things. You might realize, hey, all these things that I thought were going to make me successful is not making me happy. So I guess my biggest message is to find a balance between, making your business successful and fighting over the things that you're passionate about, but also learning like what's going to make you happy at the end of the day.
Kathy Fang and Christian Siriano, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. So appreciate your incredible insights and your candor. your passion and commitment. And also thank you, Sylvia Davis, for helping us in the chat. Thank you to our our businesses and those who joined us today, and everyone who joined us live on the broadcast. Really, really appreciate this day. I have learned so much. And for you, if you want to learn more about Intuit's Small Business Success Month, check out the resource tab below the video player, which includes many useful links to the QuickBooks blog. And please share what you've learned today on social. And now that we've gotten such great advice from Christian and Kathy, using the hashtag small business success. And of course, you can find me on IG at Lisa Linkstagram. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great day, everyone.